Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Our lecture for today is an addition discussion about some details we were not able to discuss last meeting due that these details were not included in my presentation but were presented on your book. So to continue with the terminology, we have another personalities here who define criminology. We have here Marvin Wolfgang and Franco Ferracotti. Please follow me on page 2 of your book, which define criminology is the scientific study of crime, criminals, and criminal behavior. So it involves three: crime, criminals, and criminal behavior. On the other hand, criminology is the scientific study of crime, criminals, and criminal behavior. Criminologists scientifically study the following. First is the nature and extent of crime. So what is the nature of the crime? Is it crimes against property, crimes against person? And what is the extent? So how many persons were involved? What is the extent of its damage? Second is the patterns of criminality. Can we see a pattern? Is that certain crime uh, different with other crimes, or it has a similarity with previous crimes? So if it has similarities with the previous crime, there might be a pattern. One example of a pattern is um, if months, meron tayong mga crime na dumadami at certain month or weather. Kung malamig yung panahon, meron tayong certain crime na dumadami on that climate. Pag tag-araw, meron din tayong crime na dumadami tuwing tag-araw. And explanations on the causes of crime and criminal behavior. And fourth is the control of crime and criminal behavior. So how do we control crime and criminal behavior? Through the use of penalty, punishments, and anything related to it. Pwede yan. In line with the law enforcement, pwede rin namang increase of patrollers. Pagka naman maraming na-unsolved na crimes, pwede rin naman ang intervention natin dyan is increase in training or trained investigators para ma-solve yung maraming crime. So, if na-solve yung crime, makakasuhan yung tao, yung perpetrator, mahuli, ma-penalize. So long as na-penalize, nakokontrol natin yung pagdami ng crime. Because punishment, again, deters other persons from committing the same, and at the same time, it deters the perpetrator itself from repeating his crime. So, according to Gennaro F. Vito and Ronald Holmes, criminology is the study of the causes of crime. When we say causes of crime, it pertains to the uh, etymology of crime, etiology of crime, study of causes of crimes. And another personality here is Greg Barak. So Greg Barak differentiated criminology as an interdisciplinary study of the various bodies of knowledge. So when we say interdisciplinary, it intertwines with other bodies of knowledge. So marami siyang interconnections which focuses on the etiology of crime or causes of crime, the behavior of criminals, and policies and practices of crime control. So what are again this interdisciplinary study of various bodies of knowledge? So when we say interdisciplinary study, yung maraming intertwined na studies, we may include here psychology for the study of behavior of persons and criminals, sociology, penology, victimology, yan, kasama lahat yan dyan. According to the Webster Dictionary, criminology may be described to be the scientific study of crime as a social phenomena or of criminals and their mental traits, habits, and discipline. This definition has the merit of emphasizing equally the sociological as well as psychological aspect of crime and criminal. And according to the European Society of Criminology, criminology refers to the or to all scholarly, scientific, and professional knowledge concerning the explanation, prevention, control, and treatment of criminal delinquency, offenders, and victims, including the measurement and detection of crime, legislation. So when we say legislation again, the law-making bodies, and the practice of criminal law and law enforcement, judicial and correctional systems. So we have here the objectives of criminology. What are the objectives of criminology? Number one is to develop a body of general and verified principles and of other types of knowledge regarding process of law, crime, and treatment or prevention. And second is to study criminal behavior and the physical, so that's one, physical, psychological, that's second, and the socio-economic or the community factors behind it, and how and why people commit crimes. So that is within the scope of criminology. Last meeting, we were done with the nature of criminology. So definition of terms. We have here some definition of terms. Applied criminology. Applied criminology is the art of creating typologies. So when we say typologies, like types, we have created different types. So typologies, classifications, and predictions, and especially profiles of criminal offenders, their personalities, and behavioral patterns. So when we say applied criminology, we use here past researches as basis of pwedeng predicting typologies and classification of crime, criminal offenders, and some of their personalities and behavioral patterns. So noon, meron tayong mga typology of criminals na pagka malawak ang noo, Ah, that could be one typology of a criminal. Malapad ang noo, masculine ang katawan. Pagka naman sa theft cases, yung slim, payat, yung kayang-kayang, yung flexible. So, mga ganyan. May iba't ibang uri ng typologies. We also have here theoretical criminology. Excuse me. Theoretical criminology is a subfield of general criminology, most often found in colleges and in universities. So kung baga sa school lang siya nakikita, tapos bahala na yung school kung paano niya isa subfield or subcategorize yung criminology. We also have constitutional approach. It is an approach to explain criminal behavior that assumes that behavior is influenced by the structure or physical characteristics of person's body. So, yun ang sinasabi niya. Constitutional approach tries to explain that criminal or the criminal tendency or behavior of the person is influenced by the or by his physical structure. Yung para masabi ko kanina na pagka malawak ang noo, ay may tendency criminal yan. Parang si Frankenstein. Di ba? Pagka masculine naman, ay violent type of offender yan. Pagka naman yung skinny type, magaling na magnakaw yan, akyat bahay yan. So, yung mga yon ang klase ng constitutional approach. Criminologist. The term criminologist refers to a person who studies criminology. The word criminologist is recorded from the year 1857. So take note of it. It was recorded from 1857. Also, one who is trained in the field of criminology. So criminologist is trained in the field of criminology. He studies crime, criminals, and criminal behavior. However, at present, we can only call a person a criminologist if he has undertaken BS Criminology and after graduation, he has actually passed the licensure board exam for criminologist. So pagka naipasa niya, then can we call him a criminologist. We have criminalist. Criminalist is one who reconstructs a crime scene or works with crime scene evidence for forensic purposes. So, criminalist, he reconstructs the crime scene. Or maybe he works with the crime scene evidence for forensic purposes. Criminalist or ibang tawag natin sa ibang term natin sa technical expert within the forensic group are criminalistics, di ba? So criminalist. We also have here dualistic fallacy. So we know for a fact that fallacy is something pertaining to untrue. And dual, from the word dual, dalawa. So dualistic fallacy refers to the assumption that there is a distinct difference between two groups. And what are these two groups? The group of the criminals and non-criminals. The group between the bad and the good. And we have here criminality is a behavioral predisposition that disproportionately favors criminal activity. So, like, what can you say about the criminality in your area? So, medyo disproportionately favors criminal activity. What can you say about the peace and order in your area? So, it also disproportionately favors peace and order. So, it is a behavioral predisposition that disproportionately favors criminal activity. Next is criminal justice. It is the scientific study of crime, the criminal law, and the components of the criminal justice system. The components of criminal justice system in the US includes, tatlo lang yun, includes police, courts, and correction. But here in the Philippines, the components of our criminal justice has five, namely the law enforcement, that is the one, the first. Second is the prosecution. Third is the courts. Fourth is the correction. And fifth is after the person or the offender uh, was done with his penalty, he will now be sent back to the community. Community is the fifth. And criminal justice system on page 4. Criminal justice system, the various agencies of justice, especially the police, courts, and correction in the United States. Kasi tatlo lang ang pillars ng criminal justice system ng US. Unlike here in the Philippines, 5. Or the police, prosecution, courts, correction, and the community in the Philippines, whose goal is to apprehend, so arrest. Tapos after the arrest, prosecute. Tapos after we prosecute the perpetrator, we bring him, we testify to the court until the conviction of the perpetrator. So pagka na-convict na ng court yung perpetrator, he will now be punished, imprisoned. After his imprisonment, after the service of his imprisonment, he will now be released. No, he will be, yan nga, imprisoned, and with the purpose to rehabilitate him, to prepare him back to the community para mabago siya. So yan, rehabilitate the law violators. And after that, after the service of his sentence, he will be sent back to the community. So that is our criminal justice system. We have here the term experimental criminology, a form of contemporary criminology that makes use of rigorous social scientific techniques, especially randomized control experiments and the systematic review of research results. So when we say experimental criminology, we do experiments to test the validity of our hypothesis. That is the experimental criminology. So what are the purposes of criminology? The purpose of criminology are to offer well-researched and objective answer to four basic questions as follows. What are the four basic questions? Number one, why do crime rates vary? In Tagalog, bakit ba nag-iiba-iba ang crime rates? Well, to answer that, crime rates vary because of many factors. There are a lot of factors or variables we have to include in our analysis to predict crime rates. Nasabi ko na yung iba kanina. One of which is weather conditions. So, pwede yan. Climate, pwede yan. Location, pwede yan. Bakit natin sinasama ang location? Kasi kung minsan, pagka-slump yung area or squatters area, mga ganyan, kung saan mas populated yung area, pwede rin yan, mas maraming crime. Unlike with the, the places na mas kukunti ang population, magkakilala lahat ng mga tao, mas lesser ang crime rate dyan. Yung place na nandun ka sa yayamanin na place, mga subdivision, mga ganyan, mas kukunti ang crime rates dyan. So, those are some factors that affects crime rate. Kahit obserbahan nyo, ikumpara nyo pagka kayo yung parang nakapasyal na sa probinsya nyo, tapos itry nyo i-analyze na yun dyan sa Laguna. Saan mas marami ang crime rate? Sa probinsya nyo or dyan ba sa Laguna? Di ba? So, the more the population is, we expect more crime rates. Pwede yan. Second question we have to answer is, why do individuals differ as to criminality? So, why do individuals differ as to criminality? Individual differs as to criminality depending on his surrounding circumstances. So, yan. Pwedeng behavioral din to, pwedeng genetic. So, parang this can be answered by a psychologist, most likely. So, yung individual's behavior to criminality differs first if pagka dun sa genetically, it follows na pagka yung parents ng isang individual ay puro criminal, it follows daw na yung magiging offspring is likewise a criminal. Parang yung mangga, ang bunga lang ng mangga is also a fruit of a mango. Yan naman sa genetics at sa hereditary. Pagka naman sa social theories, pwedeng peer pressure naman yan. So, pagka yung isang individual is parating sumasama sa mga gang, yung mga yan, sa mga barkada niyang broken family, ganyan, most likely, he will also be indulging himself with criminal activities. What else? Yung mga tao na product of a broken family, pwede rin yan. O yung mga tao na hindi pinalaki ng sarili nilang parents, most likely meron din ganyan. Yung mga pinalaki ng kanilang mga yaya, di ba? Mas sila, mas undisciplined compared sa pinalaki ng mismong parents nila. Mas disiplinado yung mga pinalaki mismo ng parents nila. So, those are some of the answers to this question. We move on with number 3. Why is there a variation in reactions to crime. Kumbaga, in Tagalog, bakit daw nagbabago-bago yung reactions to crime or the reactions to breaking of a law? Bakit nagbabago-bago? Well, one explanation to that is, syempre, depende rin sa yung na-discuss natin, pagka ang tao is pro sa classical theory, sa neoclassical theory, or sa positivist theory, most likely that is one. And another factor is, pagka yung tao ay related sa offender, of course, his reaction is favoring the perpetrator. Pagkakadugo niya, pagka-friend niya, pagka-relative niya, yung perpetrator na huli, of course, na maging reaction niya, ay kawawa naman tong kaibigan ko, tong kapamilya ko. Ganun ang reaksyon. Pero pag kayong nahuli, hindi related sa kanya, ay, ipako sa krus. Ay, kulong yan. Mabubulok ka sa kulungan. Diba? Ganyan. That's one. Uh, those are some of the explanations as to why there are variation in reactions to crime. Lalo na pagka yung crime na-commit is heinous crime, tapos malapit pa sa area nyo, hindi ka related sa perpetrator, mas gugustuhin mong mahuli kagad yung perpetrator sana, di ba? Kasi pagka hindi yan nahuli, ang thinking natin is baka uh, nonetheless, one of our family member could be his next victim. Pwede rin yan. Fourth question, what are the possible means in controlling criminality? So, nasabi ko rin to kanina. We have lots of means to control criminality. So, in the broad sense of criminology, the best first answer here is penology, or the study of punishment. Pagka mas mabigat yung punishment compared sa gain ng crime, that could be one, to deter the perpetrator and the community from doing similar crime. And in the field of law enforcement, we can control criminality by increasing what? The number of patrollers. If it is needed for the police to hire more number of police, then so be it, para makontrol ang crime. Pero kung hindi naman kailangan na madami ang police, but ang kailangan is force multipliers or yung mga asset or friendly forces ng police. What are the force multipliers of the police? One is our BPATs, yung mga Barangay Peace and Order Council o mga tanod, mga ganyan. Pwede rin yung mga kagawad as force multipliers. Pwede rin employees of other government agencies. Pwede in collaboration with the BGMP, with the BFP, with the Philippine Army. Pwede rin yan. And pwede rin sa mga ROTC, reservist, and most especially sa mga student ng crime. We also have a lot of NGOs nowadays that the PNP can use as force multipliers. Meron din tayong yung guardians organization, yung mga yan, na pwedeng tumulong sa police. So, we now move on with the goals of studying criminology. The study of criminology seeks to achieve the following goals. First of which is to describe criminal behavior. So, ano kaya ang criminal behavior to? To understand criminal behavior. So, bakit kaya ganito ang behavior nitong criminal na ito. So, most likely about psychology. Psychology naman yung kailangan natin dito. To predict criminal behavior. So, we can predict criminal behavior based on past observations. So, yan. At saka, kuminsan, pagka nakita mong nagalit na yung tao, di ba, you can predict right away na, oh, mas lalala pa to. Ganyan. Lalo na pagka yung kagalit niya is sumasabat din. Ay, magiging mas violent pa to. Di ba, mga ganyan. And to control criminal behavior. So, of course, that is one goal of criminology, to control criminal behavior. How do we control criminal behavior? By dealing with the aspects that causes one to commit crime. So, pagka ang cause ng criminal behavior is out of school youth, one program could be tulungan natin yung DSWD to tawag dito, to support out of school youth to be back to school. Diba, mga ganyan. And following is the nature of criminology, which we already discussed last meeting. So, on your book, page 5, we have here areas related to criminology. What are the areas related to criminology? We have here a lot. Study of law. Dapat aralin natin yung mga batas. So what are again are criminal laws? We have the RPC, Revised Penal Code. We have the special laws. And the special law includes acts, Republic Acts, Presidential Decree, and Batas Pambansa. We have second is science, medicine, chemistry, and psychology. So, or science, these are all under instrumentation. Pwedeng sabihin instrumentation, yung broader category nito. And third is religion. Sometimes, because pagka ba atheist ang person, hindi naniniwala sa Panginoon, there's a tendency na maging criminal siya. So that's one. And also, taking into consideration our Muslim brothers, di ba? Meron silang paniniwala na pagka nagsusuicide bomber sila, sa heaven daw sila pumupunta. Kaya maraming suicide bombers na Muslim. And that is inclined with their religion. Education. The theory here is the more educated you are, the lesser you become criminal daw. Kaya pagka yung tao hindi nakapag-aral, most likely mas nagiging criminal yan. Social work involving sociology and psychology. So, social works. When we speak of social works, ang target natin dito most likely is rehabilitation. Tapos, anong organization ang primary actor of social works? We have the DSWD, Department of Social Welfare and Development. So, sino yung mga mostly na kliyente ng DSWD? Yung mga out of school youth, yung mga juvenile delinquents. Yan. And public administration. So when you say public administration, it pertains to the management of the uh, personnel. Yan, tasked with the implementation of pwedeng, pwedeng law enforcers. Pwede yan. Public administration. The program of the administration. Pwede rin. And we have here the agencies associated with criminology. We have the legislative bodies. The legislative bodies, again, are composed of two houses, the upper house or the Senate, and the lower house, the House of Representatives or the Congressmen. Second is the law enforcement agencies. So, ano yung mga law enforcement agencies? Some example are the crime bureaus, the PNP, BFP, BGMP. What are the others? We have the PDEA, we have the DENR. So, lahat ng agency na nag-enforce ng batas. So, RMMDA included, pwede rin sa batas pang trapiko. Diba? And third is the court and prosecution pillars. So, by the way, magkaiba dapat yung court sa prosecution. Magkaibang pillar to. But they are both under the Department of Justice. So, yan. We have the educational institutions such as schools and universities. The correctional institutions, yan. So, we have the Bureau of Corrections, and the BGMP, correctional institutions. A public, charitable, and social agencies. So, kung meron bang agency na more on being a charitable, PCSO, di ba, kung minsan nagdo-donate, pero you have to be qualified. And public welfare agencies. So, ano yung public welfare agencies? Best example I can give here is the TSWD. And when it comes to the welfare of the motorist, pwede rin namang DPWH. So, maraming agency, depende rin kung saan siya concerned na welfare. So, we were done with the principal divisions of criminology by Edwin Sutherland, the sociology of law, the making of laws, criminal etiology or the breaking of laws, and penology, the reacting or reaction towards the breaking of laws. So we now move with the components of criminology by Clarence Ray Jeffrey. Clarence Ray Jeffrey. So what are the components of criminology? Components of criminology is the detection of the offender. So that's first. We have to detect the offender. After we detect, of course, we have to identify him, profile him, anong pangalan, edad, pwedeng nakakatulong kasi yan sa criminology. Most of this age range becomes delinquent, mga ganyan, di ba? Ano kayang mga age range na nagiging delinquent ng isang tao? Ano ang pinaka-prominent? Sino ang mas mayroong criminal tendency? Babae ba o lalaki? Mga ganyan, di ba? Kaya kinukuha yung gender. So lahat, that's under detection. We have to identify and profile the offender. Tapos second, after we have identified the offender, we have to treat him. So how do we treat the offender? We have to rehabilitate. Kung pwede madaan sa advices lang, well and good. Pero kung medyo mabigat yung kasalanan niya, kailangan niyang ma-prosecute tapos mabilanggo. Doon na siya mare-rehabilitate. And explanation of crime and criminal behavior. So, explain yung crime at yung criminal behavior. So, we have here criminological theory. What is a theory? A theory is a part of an explanation, an attempt to relate two or more variables in ways that can be tested. If properly constructed and tested, a theory can be either supported or shown to be incorrect or at least questioned. Thus, a theory is more than an assumption. It involves efforts to test the reality of thoughts or explanations about how variables such as gender are related to the phenomena such as criminal behavior. So in short, what is a theory? Assumption. So in Tagalog, ano ang assumption? Akala o hindi, suspetsya. Yan, di ba? In criminal investigation, theory is synonymous with suspetsya. So, pagka may na-commit na crime, paano kaya nangyari? So, magre-reconstruct. Maaring ganito yung nangyari. So, yung kwentong nangyan kung paano nangyari is a theory. O kaya suspetsya. Tapos, as the investigator goes on, nakakakalap siya ng ebidensya pa. Kung yung ebidensya nakalap niya ay tumugma sa theory, o kaya napatunayan yung theory, then that theory is no longer a theory. Kumbaga, fact na siya. Yan na yung totoo. That is a theory. So, by the way guys, speaking of theory, what is the difference between theory and principle? Or sometimes we call it doctrine. Theory are an uneducated guess. So when we say an uneducated guess, hindi siya nag-underwent ng scientific study. Kumbaga, hula lang siya, prediction lang siya, theory. However, if we speak of principle or doctrine, these doctrine or principle underwent scientific study and it was proven to be true and correct. That is why doctrine and principles are not only nationally accepted but are also universally accepted. So when we say universally accepted, accepted siya sa US, accepted siya sa lahat ng bansa to include Philippines. Yan. While in theory, hindi nga siya scientifically proven eh. So pwedeng totoo siya for that certain scenario lang, pero not in all cases. To give you an example, medyo umadvance na tayo to give you an example, one example of a doctrine is Hindi, principle na lang yung bigay kong sample. In relation to investigation, one principle I can think of right now is the principle of transfer. That's according to Lucard. Lucard stated in his principle of transfer that whenever there is a contact between two or more objects, there is always a transfer. So in short, whenever there is a contact, pagka may nagbungguan, may contact, there is transfer. So may ta-transfer. Pagka may contact, may bungguhan, may transfer. So, excuse me, applying it with investigation, especially vehicular traffic accidents. Kunwari may nagbungguhan o may sasakyan na nakaparada, puti. Tapos itong sasakyan na nakaparada ay binunggo ng kulay pula. Tapos hit and run, tumakbo na yung kulay pula. So, rumisponde yung pulis, nakita ng pulis na bakit may red paint deposit dito sa bumper ng biktimang sasakyan na kulay puti. So, what is the principle? If we apply the principle of transfer, the color of the vehicle who bumped the white vehicle is red. So, yan na yung isang principle dyan. So, binunggo ng kulay pulang sasakyan yung puti. So, what could be the next step of the investigators? Kung may CCTV doon, i-review nila yung CCTV and they will look for red-colored vehicles na dumaan along the way. Yun ay kung hindi mismo nakuhanan ng CCTV yung pagbunggo. So, ganun ang mangyayari. Pero kung nakuhanan mismo ng CCTV, okay na yun. No need to work further. Nakuhanan pala ng CCTV. More than enough na yun as evidence. Pero kung hindi nakuhanan ng CCTV, tapos yung CCTV ay nakalagay lang doon sa entrance at exit point ng road, so lahat ng dumaan na sasakyan doon, within the time range, yun lang i-review nila, tapos ipoprofile nila yung mga pulang sasakyan. So lahat ng pulang sasakyan na dumaan doon are suspect. So gagather pa yung mga investigator ng other evidence to minimize the number of suspect hanggang isa na lang ang matira. So that is the difference between principle and a theory. Is Lucard's principle of transfer universally accepted? Yes, it is universally accepted not only in one country but universally, worldwide. Another example of the application of principle of transfer. Pwede rin sa rape, di ba? May contact sa rape. Sa rape case. Tapos yung offender, nakaiwan ng semen niya sa private area ng victim. So, i-DNA yung semen, tapos through the semen, malalaman kung kaninong DNA yun. May kukumpara kung match ba sa DNA ng suspect. Kung match, probably that suspect is the person who perpetrated the rape case. Lalo na pagka unconscious yung biktima, hindi niya namukhaan yung perpetrator. O kaya pagka nakamask yung perpetrator, hindi niya namukhaan. Diba? So next is yan. Theory refers also to a series of interrelated propositions that attempt to describe, explain, and predict and untimely control some class of events. So, yan, yung para masabi ko. I-merge nyo lahat ng mga data na nakuha nyo, tapos pagdudugtungin nyo, tapos from that, bubuo kayo ng isang teorya or kwento nung pangyayari. That is an example of a crime scene reconstruction, di ba? During crime scene reconstruction, ang ginagawa kasi dyan is, so ano yung mga nakalat nating ebidensya? Ito lahat. So, from that, pag dudugtungin nila, gagawa sila ng kwento kung paano kaya naisagawa yung crime. And crime scene reconstruction has two, the physical reconstruction and the mental reconstruction. When we say physical reconstruction, ilalagay ng mga investigator yung ay ire-reenact ng mga investigator yung crime scene. Tapos ire-reenact nila yung parang commission ng crime mismo. Parang i-dramatize nila. That is physical reconstruction. While mental reconstruction is the act of the investigator in imagining what possibly could have happened. Kung ano kayo yung nangyari. Yun, so ini-imagine niya. Yan ang mental reconstruction. And those are example of theories. It gains explanatory power from inherent logical consistency and is tested by how well it describes and predicts reality. So, yan ang theory. So, whenever parang theory or hypothesis, di ba, kung minsan, and we test the theory, if the hypothesis we tested match, or if the theory we tested match our hypothesis, then totoong nangyari yun, ganyan, di ba? So, we now move with the attributes of a theory. What are the attributes of a theory? First is theory construction. It is an informed creative endeavor which connects something known with something unknown, usually in a measurable way. So that is theory construction. Meron kang isang data na alam, tapos saka mo na lang idudugtong yung mga other na possibility na nangyari doon sa alam mong totoo. So, theory reconstruction. So, meron kang at least lead na dudugtuan mo ng theory para makumpleto yung kwento. Next is the theory building. This theory building refers to the efforts to come up with formal, systematic, logical, and mathematical ways in which theories are constructed. So, you will be doing formal, systematic, logical, and mathematical ways in which theories are constructed. Most likely, ang magaling sa mga theory building na ito are our engineers. They play with formulas. Yan. So, ilang oras kaya tatagal to? Mga ganyan, di ba? So, gaano kaya kabilis? Mga ganyan. Nangangailangan siya ng mathematical ways in which theories are constructed. Next is the theoretical integration. This refers to the efforts to come up with grand overarching theories which apply to all types of crime and deviance. So, theoretical integration. When we say integration, we combine one or more variables. We integrate. So, theoretical integration is the effort to come up with a grand overarching theories. So, you combine two or more theories which apply to all types of crime and deviance. That is the theoretical integration. Combining two or more theories. Next is the theoretical specification. This pertains to efforts to figure out the details of a theory, how the variables work together, usually associated with a belief that many competing theories are better than integrating efforts. So that is our theoretical specification. So one example of theoretical specification is pagka yung magte-theorize ka pagka mas marami ang population, mas marami kaya ang crime, di ba? Mga ganyan. So you include many competing theories. Yan. Next is the theoretical elaboration. So what is theoretical elaboration? This pertains to efforts to figure out the implications of a theory. So ano kaya ang gustong ipahiwatig nitong theory na to? Yan ang theoretical elaboration. What other variables might be added to the theory? Also associated with the belief that theory competition is better than theoretical integration. So, efforts to figure out the implications of a theory. Ano kaya mangyayari kasunod ng theorem yan, di ba? So, kapag klema ay malamig, ano kaya ang marami? Parang i-elaborate mo rin yung implications niya. Malamig ang klema, elaborate mo. What happens kung malamig ang klima? Diba? What crime increases during cold weather? Basang kalsada. Anong mangyayari pag basang kalsada? Magkakaroon ng vehicular traffic accident. Hindi kakapit yung gulong. Kahit na magpreno, mag-slide yan. So, theoretical elaboration. We have 6 variables. The building block of theories, things that vary. Kaya nga variables eh. Because they vary. And these variables affects result. So long as they vary, it also affects the result. Magbabago rin yung result. The building blocks of theories, things that vary, things you can have more or less of crime rates being more or less inclined to criminality. So, variables. What are the variables in criminality? So, ilagay mo lahat dyan, yung mga pwedeng variables na nakaka-affect sa crime rates or criminality. So, ulitin natin. Pwedeng poverty, hirap sa buhay. Pwedeng yung location, kung saan siya nakatira. Pwedeng peer pressure, kung yung mga barkada niya ay mga gang, out of school youth, mga ganyan. Yung social backgrounds, pwede natin isama yan as variable to criminality. And so on and so forth. Next is the hypothesis. This refers to an explanation that accounts for a set of facts and that can be tested by further investigation. So, hypothesis. So, after yung, di ba, pagka may problem ka, what is, yung scientific research, di ba? Mauna yung problem, statement of the problem. So, this is the problem. Tapos followed by the hypothesis. So, yung hypothesis is yung parang hula mo, prediction mo kung ano kaya ang sagot dun sa tanong mo. Yun ang hypothesis. And we have here eras of criminological theory by John H. Laub. First era, or the golden age of research from 1900s to 1930, it was this time when data on crime and criminal behavior were largely gathered and evaluated independent, and any particular idea framework, any particular idea and additional idea, rational framework. May kulang, ideational framework. So that is the first era, golden age of research. Doon tayo, ay doon nagkaroon ng maraming researches on crime and crime behavior from 1900 to 1930s. And the second era, golden age of theory from 1930s to 1960s. So, 30 years na naman. Diba yung 1900 to 1930s is 30 years. Golden age of research. Tapos, 1930s to 1960s, 30 years na agwat na naman, golden age of theory. This is the time when intellectual theorizing dominated the scene. Strangely, during this period, there was no systematic attempt to link criminological research to the theory. So, wala pang attempt ng paglilink doon sa criminological research and theory. So, kumbaga, suspetsya lang. Kung yung suspetsya, yun na yun. Wala pang attempt ng paglink sa theory triangulated with criminological theory. And here comes now the third era, the age of extensive theory testing. This is characterized by extensive theory testing of the dominant theories using largely empirical methods. In other words, this era was a time of scientific examination of the accuracy of criminological theories that had been previously advanced. So, means to say, the third era or the age of extensive theory testing, during that period, all they have done is to test the theories during the golden age theory. Kumbaga, tinest nila in line with scientific studies noong golden age research. Parang pinag-merge nila yung first and second era. And we now have here explaining scope of theory. Explaining scope of theory. Number one is the general theory. A general theory is a theory that attempts to explain all, kaya nga general all, or at least most forms of criminal conduct through a single overarching approach. So that is a general theory. It explains all forms of criminal conduct through a single overarching approach. Second, unique causal theory is a theory that posits only one source for all that they attempt to explain. So, from the word uni, isa lang, unicausal. So, one cause theory. Isang dahilang, isang kadahilanang theory. One causal theory. Diba? A theory that posits only one source for all that they attempt to explain. So, ano kaya ano kaya ang dahilan, di ba? So, isa lang yung dahilan ng lahat ng gusto nilang i-explain. And we have here third, but not the least, is the integrated theory. This is a theory that provides explanatory perspective that merges or attempts to merge concepts drawn from different sources. This is in contrast to the general theory. So when we say integrated theory, it provides explanatory perspective that merge or attempts to merge concepts drawn from different sources. So, di ba yung general theory is it explains all theories, while in integrated theories, all theories were uh, were tried to merge, ayan, to explain a certain effect. Kumbaga, a theory that provides explanatory perspective that merges or attempts to merge concepts drawn from different sources. Kumbaga, it tries to merge all different theories. Kumbaga, ganun. Maraming theories, di ba, na magkakaiba. And now, it tries to integrate and make it one. So that is an integrated theory. Kumbaga, from one different theory and another different theory combined, they are now called integrated theory. So, ladies and gentlemen, we already had 1 hour. So, that ends our discussion for this day. Next meeting, we will be talking about victimology and victim. So, after watching this lecture, list down your questions and I will be answering it during our synchronous. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's call it a day.